What's up, guys? This is Optic Rainbow, and today we're going to be talking about team decisions. This is the second part of my Amp Talk series. So first of all, we're going to be looking at in the background is going to be playing a game battles match. I went 11-3. This was like I said, a game battles match. It was 4-on-4 this time, not 3-3 like the last one. And I was actually trying something out. As you can see, I'm using a PP90 with a silencer, and I'm using range instead of focus to kind of counter effect the range mishaps of the silencer on any SMG. So yeah, let's start off the discussion. First of all, where to start? The question I get the most from most of you players who are newcomers in the competitive scene is, where can I find players to team with? Where are these players that everyone starts playing with and newcomers? I think the biggest easiest way of finding players is on the Game Battles forums. I'm really not sure. I haven't been in the Game Battles forum forever, but whenever I started playing, the Game Battles forums were really active, and obviously that may change. So you may also find players in random customs that you play in with your friends. You can find new teammates in those places. There's always, and also the Game Battles and 360 Icons tournaments. Like anything in general you compete in, you can find players. You just have to ask people around. If you see a player that you feel can be good and you start talking to him and you feel, okay, well, he seems to know what he's talking about, blah, blah, and so on and so forth. And it's just, those things kind of happen randomly. You can't really just start, like, you have to be patient, obviously. Those things don't happen from a day-to-day basis. It took me a long time to find two players with Big Timer. I was kind of lucky to find Big Timer right off the start because me and him always saw eye to eye and such. I'm going to come back on that later, but just as far as starting, it's gonna take you some time. I'm not saying it's gonna happen instantly whatsoever, but once you do find a players, you'll feel great about it because it's always fun to start learning with different players and obviously trying to compete at the highest level. And also, this brings us to the next point. It's always important to make priorities when you look for a player. I think one of the big mistakes that most amateur players out there are trying to make is they seem to prioritize players who can drop kills or slay a lot rather than players who have the right mindset to start off with and are willing to learn together. There's so many team changes in the AM community, it's not even funny. Like, we've done these AM showdowns, I think 3 or 4 times now, and I've seen a lot of the same players come back, but they always come back with different teams. And we did these AM series over like the span of like maybe a month and a half. We did 3 or 4 of them over a month and a half, and like if you're changing team every 2 weeks, like I don't understand how you expect to be a top team or compete at the highest level in any way, shape, or form. It's just things don't happen instantly, and that's patience is such a virtue in this whole business. And like just once you get there, like obviously things might come a bit faster, but to get there you have to be patient, and it's simple as that. Like it took me a 1.5 to 2 years to get to that pro status or whatever by MLG standards since we won 2009 nationals, and like it's simple as that. It just does not happen instantly, and I really feel like a lot of players and amateurs out there should be trying to find players who are willing to learn rather than thinking things are going to work instantly, because the true potential of a team is not going to happen from a day-to-day or even a week-to-week basis. And that brings us again to our next point. Team changes shouldn't be based on short-term performance. As simple as that. Even in scrims, like you shouldn't base a player's ability to compete at the highest level in a scrim. If you play with a player who is doing alright in scrims, and then you feel like, okay, well, you're not sure about him. Oh, well, he's not dropping a lot of stats, or he doesn't seem to be helping our team out that much. Like you can't really tell. You can't truly tell until you play with him in an actual tournament. I'm sorry to say, or any competitive match in general. Like even if it's a GB, like everyone has a different mindset or different thought process and different ability to react to situations when an actual match starts. Like when you're playing for when you have something at stake, and that's a big factor in competitive gaming. Is like over the years I've seen a lot of players who were really good in customs and scrims, and when they got to an actual team and compete in an actual match that you were playing for something, they just choked. They just couldn't do anything. Their brain just stopped working, or for whatever reason they just couldn't compete as much as they like at the highest level like they did in scrims. And that's something in any sports in life that you're going to encounter. So for everyone out there who's making like violently quick team changes based on short performance, that I'm sorry to say you're not doing it right there. And there's certain ways you can. There's certain aspects that will make you drop players. Like in the past, where most of the team changes that me and Big Timer encountered when we first started competing together in the pro circuit ladders were based on players' dedication because they just didn't play enough, or we didn't really feel like they seemed that they were willing to invest the time that we felt was needed to compete at the highest level, or their attitude, because some players' attitude is just shitty. As simple as that. Like anything in life, there's some players out there who just don't seem to take things seriously. Like in my first part video, some players just don't take things seriously, and that's a big factor in competitive gaming. If you like I was saying in the first video, if you waste your time, then you're not really getting anything done, and that's another factor that you can probably make a team change on if every player on the team agrees that the player isn't really putting the time or attitude needed to get to where you guys want to get. Then yeah, okay, I will agree. I can agree that's a Rambo approved team change. But as far as changing a player because he's not dropping a lot of kills here and there, or he's really inconsistent on a short-term basis, you have to give players time. Like you have to give your team a true potential. I think that's one of the big factors, the big points in this talk is potential of a team. You can't reach it from a day-to-day basis. You'll have to play with the same players on the same team for a good amount of time. Even if you change one player, that one player could have abilities and not abilities, but routines or certain things that he does that are similar to another player, and that might affect that might affect in consequence the other player that does the same thing he does. So at that point, you're kind of like coming back to case zero where it's like a brand new team again. Like a single player can change a lot depending on how he plays. If he's similar to the playstyle of the other player you dropped, then that could be differently. But just saying in general, if you want to reach your true potential as a team, it takes time and effort. So that's pretty much what we experienced in 2009 with me and Big Time. We had players like Axel and we had different players throughout the year that like Stun or whatever. That these players that had crappy mindsets and crappy attitude. They just they were not teamable with. Like they were good players. They could kill a lot. They could slay a lot. They had a good skill basis, but they just didn't have the attitude that it took to win on a consistent level. And that's always what me and Big Time have been preaching, is being consistent at the highest level is what we wanted to do when we first started playing, and that's what we're always going to preach to our players and to our teams and such. So I think that's also a big factor of why I feel like the Amic community is not getting to the highest level, because you players out there all seem to be thinking, oh, well, we just want the best players on our team. We don't care what they do and what they think. We just want the best players because that's going to help us show the pro teams that we're good enough. Well, I'm sorry to say, if you don't do good against a pro team in an actual tournament, then you're not really going to be noticed for it. And you're not, like, a lot of players out there seem to have the wrong mindset as far as they're all trying to join top teams. And I'm sorry to say, you should never want to think about joining a top team until the day you have actually won a lot of tournaments, or you're already up there at the highest level with all the other players. And that's gonna surround today's talk. If you have any questions, again, just ask me in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer them. I kind of like pushed the last information out pretty fast, but I hope I was able to help you guys out as far as team changes. Maybe help some of you teams out realize that quick team changes and such are not always a good thing. Sometimes can be effective, but not always a good thing. So that was it for today. I hope you guys have a good day, and so yeah, keep competing.